Now listen to me carefully. Most people think power in a relationship comes from fighting harder, arguing louder, proving your point, or holding on tighter. They believe if they just say more, do more, push more, they can make someone finally understand their worth. But that ain't power, that's fear. Fear of losing them, fear of being alone, fear of not being enough. So you hold on even when it hurts. You explain yourself even when they're not listening. You fight for something that's no longer fighting for you. But real power is quiet. It's when you can feel everything inside you and still choose peace. It's when you can walk away without trying to win the argument, without trying to prove a point, without needing the last word. It's when your dignity becomes more important than your emotions. Because when you reach that level, you don't just leave a man, you leave him thinking. You leave him questioning, you leave him realizing. And that impact, it speaks louder than anything you could have said. You remove the drama he was used to. Now listen to me. This right here is where everything begins to shift, and most people don't even realize it. See, a lot of relationships don't run on love, they run on patterns, emotional habits, reactions that repeat over and over again until both people know exactly what's coming next. And one of the biggest patterns that keeps a man comfortable, especially when he's not doing right, is drama. Yeah, drama. Not because he loves it, but because he understands it. He knows if he messes up, you're going to call him. He knows if he ignores you, you're going to text him paragraphs. He knows if he does something wrong, there's going to be tears, arguments back and forth, raised voices, emotional reactions. And guess what? That becomes normal to him. That becomes predictable. And anything predictable loses its power. Because now, he don't even take your reactions seriously anymore. He just rides the wave, waits for you to calm down, says a few words to smooth things over, and the cycle starts all over again. But the moment you decide to walk away peacefully, oh, now you've done something different. Oh, you've broken the pattern. No yelling. No emotional speech trying to make him understand your pain. Just silence, just distance, just a calm, controlled exit. And let me tell you something, that kind of reaction hits harder than any argument ever could. Because now, he don't know what to do. You didn't give him the usual script. You didn't play your role in the same old story. And when a man can't predict your behavior anymore, it shakes him. It forces him to pay attention in a way he hasn't in a long time. Now he's sitting there thinking, why she didn't react? Why she's so calm about this? Why she ain't fighting for me like before? And see, that's where the shift begins. Because your silence starts speaking louder than your words ever did. Your calmness starts making him uncomfortable and discomfort. That's where awareness is born. Now he's no longer relaxed in the situation. Now he's analyzing it. Now he's replaying everything in his head, trying to understand what just happened. Because here's the truth. When there's drama, a man focuses on defending himself. But when there's silence, he starts reflecting. Drama gives him something to fight against. Silence gives him something to think about. And thinking leads to realization. Now he's not reacting to you anymore. He's reacting to the absence of you. He starts noticing that your energy is gone. That emotional intensity, whether good or bad, is no longer there. And as much as he acted like he didn't want the drama, he was used to it. It was part of the connection. So when you remove it completely, you remove the comfort he didn't even know he had. And now he feels that shift. Because peace, when it replaces chaos, is powerful, but it's also unfamiliar to someone who is used to emotional reactions. Now he has to sit with himself. No distractions. No arguments to hide behind. No emotional noise to cover up his actions. Just him and his thoughts. And that's where it starts to hit him. That maybe you're not the same anymore. That maybe you're not going to tolerate what you used to. That maybe, just maybe, he's losing the version of you that always stayed, always fought, always came back. And that realization, it don't come from you yelling. It comes from you walking away peacefully. You show him your value without saying a word. Now listen to me closely, because this right here is where most people get it completely wrong. We live in a world where everybody feels like they have to explain their worth. I'm a good woman. I did this for you. I was there for you. You're going to regret losing me. And while all of that might be true, saying it too much actually weakens your position. Because value, real value, is not something you argue about. It's something people recognize when it's no longer available to them. See, the more you try to convince someone of your worth, the more it sounds like you're unsure of it yourself. The more you talk, the more you explain, the more you defend your position, the less mysterious and powerful you become in their eyes. But when you walk away peacefully, now you're doing something different. You're letting your actions speak. You're saying without opening your mouth, I know what I bring to the table. I know what I deserve. And I'm not going to sit here and beg you to see it. That kind of energy, it's rare. And anything rare gets noticed. Because now, instead of hearing you talk about your value, he's forced to experience your absence. And let me tell you something that hits different. Because when you were there, consistently showing up, giving your time, your attention, your care, he had access to it any time he wanted. It became normal. It became expected. It became something he didn't even think twice about. But when you remove yourself quietly, you remove access. And when access is gone, appreciation begins. Now he starts thinking about all the little things you used to do. The way you checked on him. The way you supported him. The way you listened when nobody else did. The way you made him feel understood. And here's the key part. You didn't have to remind him of any of it. Your absence reminded him. That's what silent value does. It doesn't shout, it echoes. And those echoes get louder in his mind the longer you stay gone. Now he's comparing you to other people. Comparing how he felt with you versus how he feels now. Comparing the peace, the care, the connection. And suddenly what he once overlooked, it starts to look irreplaceable. Because here's the truth most people don't realize. People don't fully understand your value when they have constant access to you. They understand it when that access is removed. That's when clarity kicks in. That's when realization starts building. That's when he begins to see you not as someone who was always there, but as someone who chose to be there and can now choose not to be. And that choice, that's where your power lives. Because you're no longer acting out of need. You're acting out of self-respect. You're not trying to force him to see you differently. You're showing him that you see yourself differently. And that shift in energy, it changes everything. Now he's not looking at you as someone he can take for granted. Now he's looking at you as someone he might have underestimated. Someone who didn't beg. Someone who didn't chase. Someone who didn't try to convince him to stay, but instead walked away with quiet confidence. And let me tell you something about quiet confidence. It's loud. It speaks in ways words never could. It makes people question themselves. It makes people reflect. It makes people realize what they had without being told. And now he's sitting there with all these thoughts, all these realizations, all these feelings, and you didn't say a single word. That's power. That's value. That's what happens when you stop explaining who you are and start demonstrating it through your actions. Because at the end of the day, anyone can talk about their worth. But the person who can walk away from a situation that no longer serves them calmly, confidently, and without noise, that's the person whose value becomes impossible to ignore. Your absence creates emotional space for him to feel you. Now let me tell you something that most people don't understand about relationships. Feelings need space to grow. Yeah, you heard me right. Emotions don't get stronger when you're constantly in someone's face, constantly texting, constantly explaining, constantly trying to fix everything in real time. That ain't how feelings deepen. That's how they get crowded. Because when you're always there, always available, always reaching out, always trying to keep the connection alive. You don't give that man a chance to feel you. You give him access. And access without space leads to emotional numbness. See, when you're constantly pouring into someone, checking on them, making sure they're okay, trying to stay connected no matter what, they don't have to reach for you. They don't have to think about you. They don't have to miss you. Why? Because you're already there. But the moment you walk away peacefully, you create something powerful. You create space, and in that space, something shifts. Because now, for the first time in a long time, he don't hear from you. No good morning texts, no random check-ins, no emotional conversations filling up his day, just silence. And at first, he might not react. At first, he might enjoy it. He might think, okay, cool, less pressure. But give it time, because silence has a way of growing louder the longer it stays. And slowly, that space you created starts to fill up with thoughts. Thoughts about you. Now he starts remembering things he didn't pay attention to before. The way you laughed, the way you cared, the way you showed up for him without being asked, the way you understood him in ways nobody else did. Because now there's no new interaction to distract him, no constant communication to keep things surface level. Just his mind going back to what used to be. And this is where it gets deep. Because when a man finally has space, he starts to feel what you meant to him instead of just experiencing your presence. There's a difference. When you're always there, he experiences you in the moment, but he doesn't always process it. But when you're gone, now he processes. Now he reflects. Now he connects the dots. Now he realizes how much of his emotional world you were actually holding together. And here's the real truth. People don't always feel your importance when you're present. They feel it when you're absent. That's when the emotional weight of who you were in their life starts to sink in. That's when your absence becomes louder than your presence ever was. Because now he's going through his day without you, and he starts noticing the gaps. Nobody texting him the way you did. Nobody checking on him the way you did. Nobody bringing that same energy, that same understanding, that same connection. And it feels different. Not in a small way, in a noticeable way. And that difference, that's where the feelings start to grow. That's where the missing begins. That's where he starts reaching. Not because you told him to, not because you forced him to, but because he feels something missing. Because you didn't just remove yourself physically. You removed your emotional presence. And that presence was something he got used to, even if he didn't appreciate it at the time. Now, let me be real with you. This only works if what you gave was genuine. If you showed up with real care, real support, real energy, then your absence will be felt. But if there was no real connection, then there's nothing to miss. That's just the truth. But if you know what you brought to the table, if you know the kind of woman you were in that relationship, then understand this: your absence is not empty, it's powerful. Because in that silence, in that distance, in that emotional space, he finally gets the chance to feel you in a way he never did when you were right there in front of him. You shift from chasing to being chased. Now listen to me, because this right here is where the whole game flips. Most people don't even realize they're chasing. They think they're fighting for love. They think they're showing effort. They think they're trying to make it work. But is always the one calling, always the one texting first, always the one fixing problems, always the one trying to hold everything together. You're not building attraction. You're chasing. And the problem with chasing is this: it puts you in a position of seeking approval instead of being valued. Because the more you run after someone, the more they feel like they can slow down. The more you reach, the less they feel the need to reach back. It creates an imbalance, and attraction cannot survive an imbalance. But the moment you walk away peacefully, that's when everything starts to shift. Because now you stop chasing, not out of anger, not out of ego, but out of clarity. You realize something deep. I shouldn't have to convince someone to choose me. And when you move from that place, your entire energy changes. Now you're not trying to prove your worth. Now you're not trying to earn attention. Now you're not waiting around hoping he notices you. You step back and you redirect all that energy back into yourself, your time, your focus, your growth, your peace. And let me tell you something, when a woman starts choosing herself, it does something powerful. It makes her magnetic. Because now you're no longer operating from lack. You're not saying, I need you to complete me. You're saying, I'm already complete, and if you can't match that, I can walk away. That energy, it's different, it's calm, it's confident, and it's rare. And here's what happens on the other side of that. The man who once felt chased now starts feeling distance. And that distance, it bothers him, because now he's the one noticing the silence. He's the one wondering why you're not reaching out anymore. He's the one checking if you're online, watching your moves, trying to figure out what changed. And let me tell you why that happens. Because when you were chasing, you made his position comfortable. You made it easy for him to sit back while you did all the emotional work. But now, that comfort is gone. And when comfort disappears, effort begins. Now he's the one thinking, why she ain't texting me? Why is she so quiet? What's she doing? Did she move on? Now he's the one feeling uncertain. Now he's the one trying to close the gap. Now he's the one chasing. And here's the truth most people don't talk about. People are naturally drawn to what feels like it could slip away, not what's constantly chasing them. So when you stop running after him and start walking your own path, you create that sense of distance that pulls him forward. But here's the key. You're not doing it as a strategy. You're doing it as a standard. Because if you're pretending to walk away just to get a reaction, that energy ain't real. And people can feel that. This shift only works when it comes from a genuine place of self-respect. When you truly decide, I'm not chasing anyone who isn't choosing me. And you stand on that without fear, without hesitation, without looking back every 5 minutes. That's when the transformation becomes real. Because now, even if he doesn't chase you, you're still okay. You're still grounded. You're still whole. And that's what makes it powerful. Because ironically, the moment you no longer need him to chase you is the exact moment he feels the urge to start chasing you. Not because you forced it, but because you changed the dynamic. You went from being available to being valuable, from being the one seeking attention to being the one worth pursuing. And that shift right there, that's what turns the tables completely. You trigger his fear of losing you for real. Now listen carefully, because this right here is where things get real. A lot of people think a man changes when you threaten to leave. They think saying, I'm done, is enough. They think giving ultimatums creates urgency. They think warning him will make him step up. But let me tell you something, words don't create fear. Reality does. Because if you've ever said, I'm leaving, before and then stayed, if you've ever said, I'm done, before and then answered his call, if you've ever walked away emotionally, but came back physically, but then in his mind, you're not going anywhere. He hears your words, but he trusts your patterns, and your patterns told him she'll be back. So he relaxes. He delays change. He takes his time, not because he doesn't care, but because he doesn't believe the loss is real. Now here's where everything shifts. When you stop talking, when you don't announce your exit, you just make it. No arguments, no long emotional explanations, no dramatic goodbyes, just distance, just silences. That's when it hits him, because now there's no reassurance. There's no sign that you're still emotionally attached. There's no evidence that you're waiting around. And for the first time, he feels uncertainty, and uncertainty creates fear. Now his mind starts racing. Wait, what if she really done this time? What if she don't come back? What if she meets somebody else? What if I actually lost her? And let me tell you something about that. What if? That's where the pressure begins. Because now the situation is out of his control. Before he controlled the pace. Before he knew you'd respond. Before he knew he could fix things whenever he felt like it. But now, he don't know nothing. He don't know where you stand. He don't know what you're thinking. He don't know if he still has access to you. And that loss of control, it shakes him. Because people don't panic when they feel secure. They panic when they feel like something important is slipping away. And that's exactly what your peaceful exit creates. It creates the possibility of permanent loss. Not temporary distance, not a short break, but a real ending. And when that becomes real in his mind, that's when emotions he was suppressing start to rise. Now he starts remembering your value. Now he starts thinking about the future he might have had with you. Now he starts questioning his own actions. And here's the truth, fear of loss will make a man move faster than comfort ever will. Comfort makes him slow. Comfort makes him lazy. Comfort makes him take you for granted. But fear wakes him up. Fear makes him act. Fear makes him realize what he didn't appreciate when it was right in front of him. And suddenly, the same man who was distant becomes attentive. The same man who was inconsistent becomes persistent. The same man who was unsure becomes urgent. Not because you begged him to change, but because he finally feels what it's like to lose you. And here's the powerful part. You didn't create that fear by yelling. You didn't create that fear by convincing him. You created it by removing yourself, by standing in your decision, by not going back just because he reached out once, by showing him that your absence is not a game, it's a consequence. And consequences, they teach lessons that words never could. Now let's be real for a second. This ain't about playing mind games. This ain't about trying to scare somebody into loving you. Because if fear is the only reason he comes back, that won't last. But what this does is force awareness. It forces him to see clearly what he stands to lose. It forces him to confront the reality of his choices. And it gives him a moment where he has to decide, am I going to step up or am I really going to lose her? And that moment, that's where the truth shows up. Because when the fear of losing you becomes real, that's when his actions finally reveal how much you truly meant to him. You protect your peace, and that makes you unstoppable. Now listen to me, because this right here is the real transformation. Up to this point, we've been talking about what happens to him, how he reacts, how he starts thinking, how he begins to chase. But this last one, this ain't about him anymore. This is about you becoming someone different. Because when you truly learn how to walk away peacefully, you don't just change your situation. You change your standard. You stop entertaining confusion. You stop responding to inconsistency. You stop arguing your worth to someone who benefits from not seeing it. And most importantly, you start protecting your peace like it's the most valuable thing you have. Because it is. See, a lot of people don't realize this peace is expensive. It costs you attachments. It costs you habits. It costs you people you thought would be in your life forever. But once you experience real peace, real emotional stability, real clarity, real self-control, you don't want to go back to chaos. You don't want to go back to overthinking, over-explaining, over-giving to someone who under-delivers. And that's where your power begins to rise. Because now you're no longer reacting to everything he does. You're observing. You're no longer chasing every time he pulls away. You're choosing distance. You're no longer losing yourself trying to keep him. You're grounding yourself in who you are. And let me tell you something. A person who's at peace is very hard to control because control requires emotional reaction. Control requires you to be triggered, to be desperate, to be attached to outcomes. But when you're peaceful, you're steady, you're calm, you're clear, and that clarity makes your decision strong. Now, when something doesn't feel right, you don't argue about it for weeks. You don't try to fix what keeps breaking. You don't sit there hoping someone will finally become who you need them to be. You simply recognize it and you remove yourself. No noise, no drama, no confusion. Just a quiet decision that says, this no longer aligns with me. And that kind of energy, it's unstoppable. Because now your happiness is not tied to one person. Your peace is not dependent on how he treats you. Your self-worth is not connected to whether he chooses you or not. You've taken your power back. And when you take your power back, everything changes. Now, even if he comes back, you're not the same person he left. You're not the one who tolerated inconsistency. You're not the one who kept giving chances without change. You're not the one who stayed just because you were afraid to lose him. No. Now you're the one who has standards. Now you're the one who requires effort. Now you're the one who chooses whether someone gets access to you or not.